My name is Andy, and this is the most magical podcast on earth. When I'm not on holiday at Walt Disney World, I'm planning a holiday to Disney. And when I'm not planning a holiday to Disney, I'm talking about Disney, with other UK fans like me who make the trip to Orlando and the House of the Mouse. So whether you're a parks professional or a Florida first-timer, this is the podcast for you. Each episode, I'll be chatting to other Disney superfans to share memories of their magical times, answering your Walt Disney World questions, getting you all the latest news from the parks, and finding out what's happening right now in Orlando. So get your ears on as we take you to the most magical place on earth. This is the most magical podcast on earth as part of the Secret Recordings Network, back with a brand new episode. This episode is entitled, I Went to Disney World for the Weekend. And that is because I went to Disney World for the weekend, as you will find out more on this episode. Yes, 3 days. I literally left the United Kingdom on the Thursday, spent 3 days in Disney, and then came back to the UK. It wasn't part of a trip. I wasn't on a cruise. I just went to Disney World for 3 days. Why? How did I do it? What did it cost? What did I get up to? What would I do it again? You'll find out more on this episode of the podcast. And you can follow us on the socials. We are at Pod Magical if you would like to be a podcast guest, or if you've got any questions or tips or recommendations, anything at all about Walt Disney World or any of the other Disney parks, give me a shout. At Pod Magical is where we are. Thank you to Bethany for your message. You'll be going to Walt Disney World. She's going to Walt Disney World after Christmas for the last week in December and the first week in January. Will there be anything Christmassy that we can still do? Oh, well, you got the perfect time to do Christmas. You should, depending on how after Christmas you go, you should still catch Festival of the Holidays at Epcot, which runs until New Year's Eve, and then Epcot on New Year's Eve goes crazy busy. You've got all the Christmas things happening at Magic Kingdom, so the stuff that happens at the Christmas parties from Christmas Eve onwards, they do that as part of the regular day. So the Christmas parade, the Christmas fireworks, you'll see that at Magic Kingdom. You'll also have the Merry Menagerie over at Animal Kingdom. All the decorations will be up at Hollywood Studios, and the Christmas tree stroll will be happening at Disney Springs, and all the Christmas snacks will still be out, and the gingerbread houses. No, there's not one at Grand Floridian this year, but all the trees and the decorations. So yeah, I've been after Christmas, and yes, it's still very festive. It always feels a bit weird for me though, as soon as like Christmas Day is done, celebrating Christmas and seeing Santa in the parade and things like that. So that always feels a bit odd. In fact, there was one year I went and it was early January. I think it was like the 12th of January or something. And they were still playing Mariah Carey, which I found a bit odd. But yeah, if you're going between Christmas and New Year, so many Christmassy things still do. If you've got any questions or you'd like to be a podcast guest or you want to see what I've been up to at my weekend in Disney World that I'm going to tell you about, follow me on the socials, follow us on the socials, whether it is TikTok or X or Instagram, or you can listen to this episode with subtitles on YouTube. At Pod Magical is where we are. So I went to Walt Disney World for the weekend. Yes, just for the weekend. This wasn't part of a bigger trip. I wasn't on a cruise. I wasn't visiting friends. It wasn't a stopover. I flew out of London on the Thursday from Heathrow to Orlando, stayed at Walt Disney World for 3 nights, and then on the Sunday, flew back from Orlando back to the UK. A long weekend in Disney World. Why did I do it? How did I do it? How much was it? Was it worth it? What did I get done? Let me give you a trip report on this podcast. If you're thinking, hang on, weren't you just in Disney World in like September, October? Yes. And that was kind of the start of why this trip happened. So I decided the flight back from Orlando to the UK it was actually the first weekend in October. I thought, I've got some points here. I've got plenty of points. Maybe treat myself to an upgrade and fly back maybe premium economy, maybe upper class, get that nice, comfortable, because I can't sleep on a plane. So I contacted Virgin. I did the online chat just to inquire about how much it would be for an upgrade. And they said, will you be using points or your voucher? Hang on a minute. So I found out, and I don't know how this happened, that I had an unused reward voucher that had to be used by the end of November this year. So as long as I was flying out by November, that voucher had to be used. It's a companion voucher, with the credit card. So you can either do a buy one, get one free. So you can buy a flight with points or with cash, and then you can bring somebody else to do the same flight return. Or you can use it for 2 people to upgrade one way. That's how it works. And I thought, oh, well, I'll use that then.
The thing is, I got the price on how much it was going to be with points and cash and the voucher, and it was like another £350 each. And I thought, well, for that, I know for a fact that I can go to New York and back for a weekend. So that's when my alarm bell started going, okay, rather than upgrading this, I can get another weekend away out of this. I can do a weekend in New York, was what I was originally thinking. So when I got back to the UK, I was having a look at the price of flights to New York, because I know you can go to New York for like 12,000 points. If you don't mind what time you go and what day you go, you can do it. And I know that there's also a flight back from New York at 8 o'clock in the morning that gets you back to the UK at 8 o'clock at night from Heathrow. So that's a great way of doing it, because you don't need to worry about sleeping on a plane, because you're just doing day flights both ways. So I thought, let's do that. So I looked at that, I looked at the availability, and then I started pricing up how much it was going to cost me for hotels in New York. Wow. The price of even the cheapest New York hotels, you're talking hundreds of pounds per night. So that, plus I'd want to see a couple of shows, a cheap weekend in New York wasn't going to be that cheap. Now, something that I always fancied doing in the back of my mind, I always wondered, could you go to Disney World for the weekend? If I'm going to drive down to Heathrow, I'm going to be, spending 2 or 3 hours to get to Heathrow. I'm going to be at the airport for 3 or 4 hours before my flight. For the sake of another hour, 90 minutes, which is the flight time difference from New York to Orlando, does it really make much difference time-wise in the grand scale of things? You're on the same time zone. Why not do it? So I am lucky that I've got an annual pass and I am a DVC member. So DVC works like a timeshare, but you get points. And I did have enough points. So I thought, if there's a flight availability with Virgin for points and my reward voucher, and there's room availability with DVC with the points I've got, I'm good to go with the parks because I've got an annual pass. Let's see if we can do it. And guess what? I did it. Flew out on the Thursday morning, stayed for a couple of nights at Riviera, and then a third night at the new Polynesian Tower. Not because I wanted to stay at the Polynesian Tower, which I did. It's very nice. But it was the only availability that they had. With the DVC, there wasn't 3 nights consecutive in any of the hotels. But I'm thinking, I'm only taking hand luggage, I'm only taking a backpack, I'm not checking a suitcase in, so it's going to be quite easy to resort hop for a while. So I did 2 nights at Riviera and 1 night at the Polynesian, and then Sunday flew back to the UK. Premium economy, by the way, because I was using a voucher and also I was using points. We had enough for the 2 of us to fly to Orlando, do 3 nights in Orlando, and just have that long weekend in the parks. And that's where I then started my planning, because I realised that weekend I was going to be there was the first weekend of Christmas. So there was a Christmas party at Magic Kingdom on the Friday, and there was also Jollywood Nights on the Saturday. Now, I did Jollywood Nights last year, and it was good. I think to really appreciate Jollywood Nights, you've got to be prepared to spend a bit more on the snacks and the cocktails to get the most out. But I'd done that, and I'd met all the characters last year at Jollywood Nights, and I did all the shows. I thought, well, budget-wise, we've got to keep costs down. But let's go to the Christmas party anyway, Magic Kingdom. Let's do that. So that would be the second night. Also, I noticed it was the opening weekend for the brand new Zootopia attraction at Animal Kingdom. So another reason to go to Walt Disney World for a long weekend. So this is where I started my planning. So I flew out on the Thursday night. The original plan was, on Thursday night, was to go to Hollywood Studios. Now, I had booked the Mears Connect because last time, in fact, the last few times that I've been to Orlando, I've got an Uber or a Lyft, and I just hate. I mean, it's quickish and it's cheap-ish, but it's just chaos. I don't know whether you ever got a rideshare from Orlando Airport. There are just so many people looking for cars. And the thing is, with American cars, they don't put a number plate on the front, which just makes it even more difficult. And the last time I went, I had to wait 20 minutes for the Uber. And then just as the Uber arrived, I couldn't find it and it cancelled on me. So then I had to wait another 20 minutes. So I thought, this time, let's just avoid the chaos. Let's just book Mears Connect. So we landed. We had to wait about 5 minutes for the coach to come in. The coach then was waiting for like another 5 minutes to fill up. And luckily, it was the first stop Riviera. So my hotel was the first stop. So within landing, and we were a little bit early landing actually, I was actually at the Riviera by 4 p.m. So early that my room wasn't ready. So I had to make check going, we're here, it's 4 o'clock, my room should be ready. So we were pretty much straight in the room, and we were then going to go to Hollywood Studios. It was either going to be doing a few things at Hollywood Studios and then seeing Fantasmic, or doing a few things at Hollywood Studios and then going over to Epcot to do Harmonious. Fantasmic was 9:30, Harmonious was 9, and I thought, we're back on the Skyliner, back to the Riviera. That's a great way to do it. I've made a list of stuff that I didn't get done in September. In September, right, 2 weeks at Disney, didn't have a Dole Whip, didn't have a crispy treat, didn't go on Rise of the Resistance. So I thought, okay, first night, let's get there just before the park closes, get in line for Rise of Resistance. If we have to wait half an hour, as long as we're off it by 9:30, we can then do Fantasmic and then call it a night. And then the following morning, we'll go to Animal Kingdom for the opening day of Zootopia. And what we'll do, we'll get a Genie Plus. We'll get Lightning Lanes for Animal Kingdom on the Friday morning so that we can book in Zootopia. So we know we can get it done in the morning because the Friday night would have been the Christmas party. However, those plans changed because I decided on the Thursday night that we landed, because Animal Kingdom was open till 8 o'clock. And I haven't been to Animal Kingdom at night for ages. I haven't seen Pandora illuminated at night for so long. I haven't been on Everest at night. I love Everest at night. So rather than going to Hollywood Studios, we jumped in the bus that came, and we didn't have to wait very long for the resort bus. We were over at Animal Kingdom by 5 p.m. Now, by that time, some of the attractions had started to close, so you couldn't do the walkthrough for the animals. And Safaris was closed, and I think the last Lion King show had happened. But it didn't really matter because I just wanted to be there at night. We checked the wait times. And also as an annual pass holder, we could do a preview of Zootopia. Yes, under the tree, replacing the Bug's Life. However, when we got there, we were too late for the annual pass distribution. But it didn't matter because they just opened the attraction to anyone anyway. And it was a walk-on. So I walked into Animal Kingdom, walked to Zootopia, and we were pretty much straight in the show. Now, I don't want to do too many spoilers of the new Zootopia 3D attraction, but let me tell you, I really enjoyed it. It is so much fun. It's really clear. It pops off the screen, unlike a Bug's Life. Now, I love the idea of the Bug's Life, and it's underneath the Tree of Life, but that attraction was pretty terrifying. I don't know how kids got around it, but I as an adult was terrified. You're in the dark, the room fills with smoke, there's things poking in your back. They do keep some of those features in the new Zootopia, but it is not as terrifying as the Bug's Life 3D. I still don't understand why the Zootopia attraction is underneath the Tree of Life, but as a film, as a 3D experience, I loved it. It was fun. People were laughing out loud. People cheered at the end. We got a little bit wet. There was a little bit of smoke. There were some animals running around, but it's a really good film. You'll enjoy it. Again, I don't understand why it is underneath the Tree of Life, but yeah. Hopefully that hasn't spoiled it, but do enjoy the new Zootopia attraction next time you go to Animal Kingdom. So I managed to do that. There was a 15-minute wait for Everest. It was dark at that time, so I got to do Everest in the dark. We then went over to Pandora just to walk around the land at night because it's so beautiful at night. Because the thing is with Animal Kingdom, it's always the first park I go to on my first full day because it opens at like 7:30, which is what we were doing the following day. But just to be there at night and experience that, and then we noticed that there was only a 40-minute wait for Flight of Passage. And I thought, wow, is this the time to do Flight of Passage? But then I thought 40 minutes, the jet lag starts to kick in. Yeah, on a normal day, I would have waited 40 minutes to go on that attraction. But when you're tired, you don't really want to just be standing for 40 minutes. So, okay, we'll skip that. And also, as we have done Zootopia, we don't need to do that tomorrow. We can rope drop Flight of Passage because we're back at Animal Kingdom tomorrow to do our lightning lanes. Let's just do that. So spent a couple of hours at Animal Kingdom and then jumped on the bus to Epcot, had a little walk around World Showcase, caught the fireworks at night, straight onto the Skyliner and straight back into bed by before 10, which is not a bad first night. Top tip, by the way, if you're staying at a Skyliner resort, make sure you're watching the Harmonious fireworks on that bridge between Paris and the United Kingdom. Sorry, between France and the United Kingdom. I always call it Paris. I don't know why. It's the whole of France. But if you watch it there, and as soon as the last firework explodes, dart out. You can be first in the line for that Skyliner because it does get busy at the end of the park. It doesn't seem to be too bad at Hollywood Studios because I think because usually you've got two Fantasmics and people are going on attractions. It's not like the park closing, everybody's out at the same time. But for Epcot, As soon as the fireworks go off, then everybody just darts for the Skyliner, and you might have seen that queue at some point. It stretches all the way around to the Yacht and Beach Club. So if you watch it on the bridge, you can be first out. Don't leave before the fireworks end. Just like as soon as the last firework goes, then leave. So yeah, a pretty successful first evening with 2 full days still to go before we went home. So the following morning, Animal Kingdom opened at 7:30, so that was the plan. So because we were staying on site, we got 7 days before, well actually it was 8 days before, because your window opens 7 days before for the whole of your trip, to book our lightning lanes. So as I said, what I wanted to do, I got the lightning lanes so I could do Zootopia. So that was the plan, to get a lightning lane for Zootopia and also the safaris and also Everest. However, there was no availability for Zootopia. Even over a week before, they'd all gone. I think the earliest was like 4, 5 o'clock. But as we were doing the Christmas party that night, that was pointless. So then my idea was to get lightning lanes for Dinosaur and the safaris and Everest, so we could rope drop Zootopia, and then even if we had to wait an hour or two to do Zootopia, at least then we were walking on 3 more attractions. We could spend a nice morning at Animal Kingdom, maybe walk around some of the attractions as well, see the animals. But as we'd done Zootopia, as I said, we just got to rope drop Flight of Passage, which was brilliant. It timed so well as well, because the bus got there. We got to the park around 7:15, just as they were letting people in, and then you've got that walk over to Pandora, and then they queue on the bridge before Pandora opens. But just as we got there, they'd start to open that land. So really, from getting off the bus to getting on the attraction was just a very slow walk onto Flight of Passage. And what I did also notice was that pre-show was a lot shorter. So, you go into the first room and you've got the awkward move around a bit, that kind of thing. And then they spray you for pesticides or whatever it is. Well, he seemed to be talking really fast. And a lot of the things in that pre-show were cut out. We seemed to be in the pre-show for like 2 minutes. They didn't do the spray thing and the pesticide thing. We were basically in one room for a couple of minutes, then into the Jackie Ogden room for another couple of minutes, and then straight on the attraction. Straight off that, straight on to the other Pandora ride, the little boat ride, the Navi River journey. Again, that was just like a 10-minute wait. And don't forget, at this point, I'd still got 3 more lightning lanes to use. So I'd done 2 big attractions, and then it was time for our lightning lanes. Now, the thing is, the lightning lanes that we got for Everest, which was still a 10-minute wait, for Dinosaur, which was still a 10-minute wait, and then the safaris, which was just about to open. Now, what I would usually do at that point is not have the lightning lanes and go to the safaris, because the safaris doesn't open for early morning access. The safaris opens at the actual park open time. So you can usually get 1 or 2 things done and then make sure you're at safaris for as soon as it opens, which would be 8 o'clock, which I normally would have done and wouldn't have needed lightning lanes at all. So I could have done the entire day as planned, because I'd already done Zootopia. At this point, by the way, was still only a 10-minute wait on opening day, and in fact stayed a 10-minute wait. We were left there about 11, and it was still pretty much a walk on for Zootopia on opening day. I just think that attraction takes in a lot of people, so don't worry about not being able to see that, because it's, if that's what it is on opening day, it's going to be pretty quick. Much like Bug's Life, never really got that busy. 20-30 minutes. It's definitely worth a 20-30 minute wait, by the way, for that Zootopia attraction. But as we did pay for the lightning lanes, I thought, well, what I can do, we'll go through the lightning lanes anyway, because when you've activate it, then you can get some more lightning lanes for other attractions in other parks, of course. I paid for the Animal Kingdom one, which was because we were starting the day at Animal Kingdom, wanted to do Zootopia, but it was also the cheapest of the day. Magic Kingdom, by the way, was like $45. $45 for lightning lanes for the day at Magic Kingdom. That's expensive. I think we paid $22 for Animal Kingdom. But obviously, as soon as you've used your first one, you can start booking other ones and you can move to other parks. So the plan was to use the first one and then have a look at the availability for Magic Kingdom for later in the afternoon, so we could get a couple of rides done before the Christmas party. Get there like 4-ish, party starts at 7. So we jumped through Dinosaur, or walk on. As we were in line for Dinosaur, I had a look at what was available for Magic Kingdom, and pretty much everything had gone. No Peter Pan, no Jingle Cruise, everything had gone. So I thought, okay, well, that plan's scuppered. This has been a complete waste of money. But I thought, well, let's have a look maybe what Hollywood Studios or Epcot have got, where we could go from Animal Kingdom to those, because we're pretty much going to be done by Animal Kingdom late morning. So I jumped onto Hollywood Studios where Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Train was available for lunchtime. So let's book that one in. So I did Dinosaur, then did Everest once again, used the lightning lanes, booked another lightning lane for Tower of Terror, which is around the same time as Mickey and Minnie. And then we did the Safaris. Safaris, by that point that we used our lightning lane, I think the actual queue had got up to about an hour. So I did feel like I got my money out of doing the Safaris. Had a little walk around the park, had a little bite to eat, had the arapas from the Smiling Crocodile, which are really nice. You can get pulled pork or you can get pulled chicken, and it's on kind of like a really soft, almost pancake like. I think they're kind of like testing some new menu items for when the new lands open in a couple of years' time. So yeah, some good little snacks there, and a pretty good day, a pretty good morning at Animal Kingdom. Going there at night and then rope drop in the morning, we pretty much did the entire park, apart from seeing the shows. We'd done everything else. Managed to jump on over to Hollywood Studios, managed to have a little wander around there. Star Tours was a walk on, as it always is. There was quite a lot of entertainment going on at Hollywood Studios. By the time we got there, Donald Duck was doing some juggling, and then we saw Chip and Dale dancing around with a brass band. They did like a mashup of Deja Vu Beyonce into the Star Wars film whilst Chip and Dale danced around. So even though there's not a lot going on at the minute at Hollywood Studios because of construction, they've seemed to have added more entertainment. So a good couple of hours at Hollywood Studios. The Christmas decorations were up, the tree was up, Gertie got her hat and a little bauble. So a nice morning over at Hollywood Studios, and then about 2 o'clock in the afternoon we went back to the Riviera, jumped on the Skyline, no line, managed to get a couple of hours sleep before heading back over to Magic Kingdom for the Christmas party. What did I get done at the Christmas party? Bear in mind, I'd only landed in Orlando the night before, and the Christmas party was from 7 till midnight. Did I stay up till midnight? Did I manage to see through the Christmas party? More of my trip report from my weekend at Disney World on the way. A lot of Christmassy news has been released over the last couple of weeks, including the menus for the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays, which is back from the 28th of November. There's cheese fondue. There's lots of other holiday snacks. From Paris, you can get a frozen hot chocolate martini, which is incredible. Also, we got the cookie stroll, and there's about 12 or 13 cookies this year. You only need to get 5 or 6 stamped to get your free gift, but I enjoy doing the cookie stroll. Festivals Holidays, it's a great little thing over at Epcot. It's one of the 4 festivals. It's the shortest one, I think, but it's one of the best up there with Festival of the Arts, which starts next year. So we had news about that, and also something else that has just started this week, which I missed. If you are a fan of Christmas movies like The Muppets Christmas Carol, who doesn't love that, and the Santa Claus, well, you can see props and costumes from some of those classic films now at Hollywood Studios. Walt Disney Presents One Man's Dream, that exhibition there where you can kind of look at some through the Disney archives. There's a small exhibition running there at the minute. Any other news from the parks? Doing now and then, there's been a lot of news about cruise ships over the last few weeks, but all that's over on the socials. At Pod Magical is where we are. So I went to Disney World for the weekend, just for the 3 nights. I'd already managed to tick off pretty much everything at Animal Kingdom. Even though I bought lightning lanes, I didn't need to buy lightning lanes. But the Friday night was the Christmas party. Now, it was only a few weeks ago I was at the Halloween party, and miraculously, overnight, Halloween turns into Christmas at the Magic Kingdom, and this was the first Christmas party. Now, I've done the Christmas party a few times before. Party runs from 7 till midnight, although if you've got a ticket, you can get in earlier. And what I usually do is, rather than queuing with the masses, I will actually go in as a normal day guest, and then in the park, you can pick up your wristband for the party, which is what we did. So even though we were there about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we went into the park anyway. I'd actually managed on the bus to get a couple more lightning lanes, so I managed to get the Phantom Manor. I'm so confused with all the parks I've been to this year. Haunted Mansion is what I went to. I got a fast pass for that, lightning lane, sorry, and also for Ariel, which was a walk on. But yeah, Haunted Mansion was about 30 minutes, so that was good. I did actually think I got my money's worth at the lightning lanes, but you've got to be really on it. And I hadn't used it for a few years, and it is very time consuming. It kind of like rules your day because you feel like you want to get your money's worth out of it. I did, but I probably wouldn't bother using it again. So we managed to do our Haunted Mansion, and then we went over to get our passes. So just outside Phil Our Magic, they were distributing the passes if you were in the parks and you got your Christmas party activated. So we got our wristbands, we got a little ornament that we got, and a little treat to nibble on. And then we went back to the entrance of Magic Kingdom just to walk in again, because they open the side of Magic Kingdom for party guests, and there's usually a DJ there and there's a few characters down there. So as we walked down there, even though we got our wristbands, you get those as you come in, they gave us another little tree ornament and another little snack. So I managed to get one from my mum. She'd appreciate that. It was still a couple of hours before the party starts. Now, usually with my party rules, this goes for Christmas, this goes to Halloween, I've mentioned this before, do everything as late as possible. So there's 2 parades, always do the second one because it's a bit quieter. There's about 4 or 5 castle shows, always do the final one because it's midnight. The party finishes at midnight, but they put on a castle show at the end so you can really stretch your day out. And if it's Halloween, save your trick-or-treating to the end because you get even more. With the Christmas party, no trick-or-treating, but you do get snacks. You get cookies and hot chocolate and eggnog as you're going around, but you don't need to save that to the end of the night. What I did want to do to this party, I thought, if I can meet a character, that would be good. And now bear in mind, I'd only landed in the UK the night before, so staying till midnight was always going to be a challenge. So I wanted to do everything as early as possible this time. So I wanted to make sure I caught the first parade, and then the fireworks and the first castle show. And then anything after the fireworks at 10 would have been a bonus. So the party still hadn't started. I got a list of a few little of the snacks that I wanted to try, but the snacks from like Sleepy Hollow hadn't actually started until 7. So you've really got to wait until the party starts at 7. So there's a bit of a hanging around time before things start to happen. And we noticed that there was a tiny little queue to meet Mickey and Minnie. Now, Mickey and Minnie were meeting together in brand new Christmas outfits where you normally meet Mickey at Town Square. And there was a queue, I'd say about a dozen people. This was at 6:30 and they were going to start meeting from 7. Jack and Sally were in the same building, but they'd already started to meet. They always meet a bit earlier. So that's always a good thing to do if you're in there early. And that line was only about 50 minutes at 6:30. So you probably could have been in and out of that by 7:30. But we decided to do Mickey and Minnie in their new costumes. They started bang on 7 and it was about 7:20 when we got through the line. Had a little bit of a meet and pictures with Mickey and Minnie in their fabulous, very festive outfits. By that time, it was almost time for the first castle show at 7:40. So we hadn't really done anything else. All we'd done at this point in the party was meet Mickey and Minnie, and then we stood at the front of the castle. We watched the castle show. That went on until just after 8. And then the first parade was coming up for 8:30. So again, you're a bit pushed for time. So we want to do the first parade, then we better go and get in position now. Some people had already started queuing for the parade. At like 6:30, people were sitting on Main Street because people want to get that prime position. And yes, it is nice to watch the parade on Main Street. And if I was doing the second one, which is a bit quieter, I probably would have watched the Christmas parade on Main Street, because there's nothing like a parade on Main Street, especially at Christmas, especially when it snows. But for this occasion, because I wasn't sure I was going to make it for the second parade, I decided to go and watch it at Frontierland, where if I was doing the double, if I was watching both parades, I would do that anyway. I'd watch it on Frontierland, and then because that's where it starts, and then do something else rather than hanging around, and then fireworks, and then maybe the second parade, and then maybe the final castle show. But we've done the castle show, pitched up for the parade. We've already got a hot chocolate and a cookie by this point, so I'd skipped the snacks that I wanted to pay for because we walked past a hot chocolate and cookie stand, and so I was already onto the sweets before I'd managed to do my savouries. But we watched the parade. I also wanted to do a couple of attractions. There's a few overlays. So Space Mountain you can do not in the dark, which they do at Halloween. They do Space Mountain. It's kind of in flashy red and green lights with loud music. That's the best way to describe. It's kind of like loud, rocky electro Christmas carols that they play. Also, the Speedway has got a bit of an overlay. The Teacups have got an overlay for Christmas. So that's what's different. We watched the Jugglers. We watched a few of the dance parties. There's a Tomorrowland dance party with Chip and Dale, and Stitch was there, I think. So, yeah, we just kind of caught the atmosphere, had quite a bit of hot chocolate, had quite a few cookies, started to feel a little bit sick, by which time then, after we'd done Space Mountain, which was about a 15-20 minute wait, it was almost time to pitch up for the fireworks. Now, as we were in line for Space Mountain, I thought, do you know what? I can rock this party out. This time yesterday, I'd only landed in Florida, but I think I can stay up till midnight. I can stay up till midnight. But something happened whilst queuing for Space Mountain, and then definitely while standing outside waiting for the fireworks, I hit the wall. I just knew as soon as the fireworks finished, it was going to be game over, because that was like 10:20, and we only waited like 5-10 minutes for the fireworks. It doesn't really get that busy at all in front of the castle. It's not like Happily Ever After when everybody's crammed in, especially at this time of year when Happily Ever After is only on every other night. So you don't really have to get too early for the fireworks. Great fireworks, by the way. They're all around you. There seems to be more pyros than ever at the Halloween and Christmas fireworks. So I managed to do the Christmas fireworks, and that was it for the night. I had a little exit through the shops. I thought, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. What else would I have done, by the way, at the Christmas party? I'd seen the castle show. I'd seen the parade. Maybe I would have done a couple more attractions or a character meet. Maybe I would have met Stitch in his Christmas Hawaiian shirt. But I thought, do you know what? I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. I've got a full day tomorrow to do stuff. So it's time to call it a night. And I was back in bed before 11 o'clock. Now, the following day, now bear in mind, I've been Thursday night, I've been Friday, Saturday was my last full day before going home. And because I've got an annual pass, I had to make a park pass, made a park pass for Epcot. Now, the reason I made a park pass for Epcot is because that night, as part of the Food and Wine Festival, I wanted to go and see David Archuleta. David Archuleta from American Idol, Creme Brulee, and the Christmas song. He was performing at Epcot that night, and because I wanted to make sure I got there. We booked a dining pass. I went for the cheapest one. So we went to Le Crêperie for breakfast in Paris. Because firstly, I'd never been there before, and that was the cheapest dining package to do. You can do Regal Eagle, but that's walk up as soon as it opens from 11. And it's first come, first serve, so you've kind of got to risk it. But I managed to make availability to go for the Crêperie. Got into Epcot quite early. Now, my plan was to do Ratatouille, and then, because it's next door to the Crêperie, to do that. But there wasn't a lot of people going into Epcot. So I thought, do you know what? Let's risk it. Let's just see how busy Guardians of the Galaxy is. And because this was like 8:15, the actual queue for the attraction hadn't opened, so I could see how many people were in front of me. And I thought, I reckon I can be on and off this ride within half an hour to be at my 9 o'clock reservation. And if I'm not there at 9 o'clock, I know if I turn up at 9:15, it's still going to be all right, but I reckon I can do it. And I did. Really not that busy at all. You've got to get there early. Remember, if the park opens early, get there earlier than that. So I managed to do Guardians of the Galaxy off that attraction just before 9. And it's quite the walk from Guardians of the Galaxy halfway around World Showcase to Le Crêperie. And I'd never been to Le Crêperie before, but we made it there about 9:15. We got seated. It wasn't really that busy. As part of the dining package, there's a set menu. Now, the breakfast, lunch and dinner is the same. Now, the set menu is you either have a soup or a salad to start, then there's a savoury pancake, and then there's a sweet pancake, and you can get a drink. Now, all weekend, I've been looking at the menu thinking, do I really want a soup or a salad at 9 o'clock in the morning? I thought, well, I'm going to have to pay for it, so I might as well have it. Probably a salad is the better option. But our server kindly informed us you don't have to have the soup or the salad. You can have an alcoholic beverage instead. So at 9:30 in the morning, I had a little French martini with my savoury and then sweet crepe. By the way, I would go back there in a heartbeat. The savoury crepe wasn't what I was expecting. I've only ever had sweet crepes before, and I thought, I don't really want a sweet pancake that's got smoked salmon on, or an egg, or ham. But they're very different. It's more, have you ever had a Staffordshire oatcake? It's that kind of taste to the savoury pancakes. So I had cream cheese and smoked salmon, and there was a lot, followed by the caramelised apples for my sweet option. As I say, in a heartbeat, I would go. I think it was about $55, and then I got my little ticket for the Eat to the Beat concert series. I decided to go for the first show at 5:30 because this was my plan for the day. If we could do Epcot in the morning, I could do Eat to the Beat at 5:30. Those shows are about 20-30 minutes long. I noticed that Fantasmic was on at 6:30 because it was the first Jollywood night, so there was an early Fantasmic. So could I do Eat to the Beat at 5:30, then run over to Hollywood Studios to do Fantasmic at 6:30, and then go back to Magic Kingdom to do Happily Ever After at 9 and then the Starlight Parade at 10. How much could I do in one evening? That was the plan. So after Le Crêperie, decided to single rider Ratatouille, because I'd eaten so much I couldn't do anything else. And then I decided, just because I fancied doing Rise of the Resistance, I remembered that you could do a single rider on Rise of the Resistance. So it went from Epcot over to Hollywood Studios. Managed to get quite a few things done. The Villain Show is on there. The Little Mermaid Show is on there. I did the single rider for Rise of the Resistance. And let me tell you, when I say I walked on that attraction, I walked on that attraction. There was a 75-minute wait. If you just asked to go to the single rider, it puts you in the room where the stormtroopers are. So you're kind of cutting out the first couple of bits of the attraction, but the bulk of the attraction you still get to do. And rather than waiting an hour and a half, you're literally straight in there. There was like maybe 3 or 4 people who had the same idea. I don't think a lot of people know you can do that. So yeah, I had a few hours over at Rise of Resistance. At this point, by the way, I was moving from the Riviera over to the Polynesian Tower, but they'll move your cases for you or your bags or whatever, so you don't need to worry about that. My room was already ready, but I was meeting friends over at Epcot. So we had a couple of hours eating around Epcot because, again, part of my list of stuff I didn't do in September and October. There was a few things I wanted to eat. The Guardians of the Galaxy, the gyozas. I wanted to have the French onion soup. It wasn't worth it, by the way. It really wasn't worth it. By that time, it was time to do Eat to the Beats with David Archuleta. And at that point, I thought, do I really want to do this show and then go back over to Hollywood Studios again? Because that would have meant I've gone from Epcot to Hollywood Studios, back to Epcot, back to Hollywood Studios, and then to Magic Kingdom. So I thought, do you know what? I've seen Fantasmic a lot. I love Fantasmic, but let's just call it a day at Epcot. Go back to the Riviera, check into the room properly, back to Polynesian Tower, check into the room there, and then once I've got sorted in there, maybe go back over then to Magic Kingdom to watch the fireworks and the parade. And this is where it went a little bit wrong, because we went from Epcot on the monorail over to the Polynesian, checked into the room. It was a beautiful room, by the way. Polynesian Tower is stunning, really gorgeous room. And then I thought, this was 7:30. I thought, I just can't sit on the bed for a little bit. And that was game over. It was game over at 7:30 because I closed my eyes and that was it. I went, I'll set an alarm for 9, but I know I'm not going to get out. At that point, I thought, well, I'll just set an alarm for 9 and just watch the fireworks from the Polynesian. Didn't even manage that. It was game over, and then awake again the following morning at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. Managed to rope drop Magic Kingdom, just to get a couple of hours in Magic Kingdom, because my flight home was 4 o'clock. So we jumped in an Uber at 1, went for something to eat at the Wailulu Lounge at the Poly Tower. So I managed to do a couple of hours at Magic Kingdom. We just did the quick attractions. I hadn't done Jingle Cruise, so that was what I wanted to rope drop. Because Jingle Cruise doesn't open until park opens, it meant with the early extra hour, or the extra 30 minutes, I wanted to go in there, and we did Aerial and People Mover, and then when park actually opened at 9, got in line to do Jingle Cruise, and then just basically walked from Jingle Cruise to Pirates to Country Bears, and I think that was kind of it. So we did like the quick attractions. We knew what we didn't. I could have got in line for Tron, but did I really want to wait an hour? Because Tron doesn't open for that early 30 minutes, but people were getting in line. I thought, do I really want to waste my time doing Tron when I could hit off quite a few attractions rather than doing one? So, yeah, good couple of hours at Magic Kingdom. Got my crispy treat, which I didn't do in September, October, so I managed to tick that one off. Jumped in an Uber about 1-ish to go back to Orlando Airport. I pre-booked security. MCO Reserve. If you've never used MCO Reserve, please do. It is free and you can use it from the UK. All you need to do 7 days before you go onto the website. If you need the link, give me a shout. I'll share it with you. In fact, I'll put it on the socials. So we booked 1:45 for security, but you get 15 minutes either side. So between 1:30 and 2 to go through security. Flight back to the UK was delayed by 2 hours because of the government shutdown. So the flight was going to take on time, but because of airspace and air traffic control, there was a real delay. It meant we were about 2 hours late taking off, but we still landed back in the UK like 45 minutes after we should have done. Yeah, so Monday morning, back in the UK, where I was on the Thursday night, an epic, crazy weekend at Walt Disney World. Would I do it again? Was it worth it? I'd say for me, yes, because I've got the annual pass and the DVC, so I'm not paying for park tickets. Because you can get the 14-day park ticket, but that's a bit of a waste of money for 3 days. You can go there, or you can go online and you can buy a 3-day ticket. By the time you've paid for a 3-day ticket, that's probably the same price as a 14-day ticket. But because I got an annual pass and because I got DVC, I didn't need to worry about paying to get into the parks. I didn't need to worry about paying for hotels. It was just basically food and Ubers to get me around. Would I do it again? Yes, I would, at the drop of a hat. However, I would choose my time of year carefully. I would say I loved being there for Christmas. It was great. The gingerbread houses and Christmas trees hadn't really started popping up. Animal Kingdom had put their Christmas tree up. Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Epcot, there was no Christmas decorations up. The resorts hadn't started to decorate. So it's a bit early if you want to catch Christmas. But what I think I would do, January, February, when there aren't any Christmas parties on, and because it goes dark a bit earlier, things happen a bit earlier. So if you want to catch Happily Ever After, it's like 8:15. So you can still wake up early to do Rope Drop, and you will, because you're never going to get in the time zone. In 3 days, you're not going to get in the time zone. But if you can do a 6:30 Fantasmic or an 8 p.m. Happily Ever After, it just means your park day is shorter and you can still get to bed early. So you can wake up early, because you will anyway because of jet lag. So you can take advantage of Rope Drop. And if you can push it to just a little bit later to see the nighttime attractions, I think really you'll still get your money out of it. Can you go and do a Christmas party and expect to be up at midnight when you've only arrived the day before? No, you can't. I'll put all the pictures on the socials. There's some videos of what I got up to there. If you want to have a look at the pancakes or you want to watch a bit of David Archuleta, I'll put that up on the socials. At Pod Magical is where we are. If you've been to Disney World for the weekend, what did you do? How was it? Give me a shout. We'll get you on the podcast and we'll have a chat about what you did at Pod Magical. If you are going to Walt Disney World soon, maybe just for the weekend like I did, tag me in your pictures at PodMagical and we can share them. The temperatures, I think, are really pleasant. I know there's been a few days when it went really cold, but this is the time of year, yes, you will need a jacket at night. It's still warm-ish and sunny, and this feels like a dry time of year to go. So, yeah, a bit nippy at night, definitely a lot cooler, but there's no humidity, and a lot of people like that. That's why they like going for this time of the year. And it's Christmas everywhere now. We've got Jollywood Nights at Hollywood Studios. We've got Mickey's Very Merry at Magic Kingdom. And then, of course, we've got Grinchmas going over at Universal. At SeaWorld, I've got their Festival of the Holidays with an ice show and food booths as well. So there's a lot of things going on in Orlando for the holidays for Christmas. It is the final weekend, though, this weekend for the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. That finishes this weekend. And then next weekend is the start of the Festival of the Holidays at Epcot. So there's only a week with no festivals, and then as soon as Thanksgiving kicks in right through to New Year's Eve, that's when you get the Festival of the Holidays with the candlelight processional over at Epcot. Yeah, if you're going, good time to go. Tag me in the pictures at PodMagical. And I'm finishing this podcast with a top tip, as I always like to do, and this is about denture tabs. Yes, your nan might have had these. She might have dropped her dentures in a cup of water at night and popped one of those little cleaning tabs in there. Well, here's a little tip that I've picked up and I'd like to share with you. Those cleaner tabs, take a few of those with you. You might have them if you've got a brace. You know, if you've got a brace that you put in water during the day just to clean your braces, those tabs are brilliant for cleaning your refillable cups. So if you get, the refillable part cups, they're plastic, and you can put soft drinks in them and hot drinks in them, and then usually after about a week, even though you rinse them off, they get a bit murky and a bit grimy and a bit meh. One of those denture cleaning tabs, pop one of those in overnight, because you can put your teeth in there, so it's fine. It's not going to be harmful for you, and it'll give them a nice clean, get rid of any mould or mildew, then give it a rinse out or two, and then you're ready. It's feel like you're going to have a clean cup for the following day. So don't forget your denture tabs next time you go to Walt Disney World. And don't forget to follow us on the socials at PodMagical. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast if you go looking for it every other week. We've got a couple of more podcasts still to come before the year is out, so do subscribe, and then they'll just pop up, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you can give us a 5-star review on there as well, that helps people find us. I know I keep saying this, but it really does, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you from listening. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, please stand clear of the doors.